Hi, and welcome back to Among Therapists, Practical Tips, your trusted source for deepening your understanding of therapeutic techniques. I'm Dr. Jessica Díaz, here to guide you through another enriching episode. In this session, we're focusing on how acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, integrates with exposure exercises, particularly for treating PTSD. We'll see how cognitive diffusion and emotional connection play pivotal roles in this approach. Our exploration begins with the emotional aspects of exposure. It's crucial for patients like Mark in our case study to experience their emotions non-judgmentally. The objective is to navigate through primary emotions effectively while reducing secondary emotional responses, such as shame. Before starting prolonged exposure exercises, an essential step is ensuring the patient has a solid foundation in cognitive diffusion and emotional willingness. These skills are instrumental in distancing oneself from judgmental thoughts and embracing mindfulness and acceptance. We'll delve into specific strategies like labeling thoughts merely as thoughts, using mindfulness to visualize thoughts as transient, and using repetition to strip words of their distressing meanings. Through these methods, patients learn to reduce their attachment to judgmental thoughts and increase their capacity to connect with emotions in a healthy, non-shameful way. Join us as we dissect these vital components of ACT-based exposure therapy for PTSD. We will uncover how these techniques can be effectively applied in your practice to assist clients like Mark in their journey toward healing. Our faculty today is Dr. Matthew Tull, a licensed psychologist who is a professor in the Department of Psychology at the University of Toledo. Dr. Tull has published over 200 peer-reviewed articles, and his research has been funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, the National Institute of Mental Health, and the Canadian Institute of Health Research. His research is focused on understanding the role of emotion regulation in the development and the maintenance of post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as a variety of maladaptive behaviors commonly observed among individuals with PTSD. We're excited to announce that this extract is part of our new trauma training pathway, proven ACT, DBT, and prolonged exposure techniques. Embark on a journey to master trauma therapy through various evidence-based frameworks. This training program emphasizes practical knowledge, allowing you to transform these theories into actionable strategies for effective trauma treatment in complex scenarios. Enhance your trauma therapy skills now with our three-dimensional e-learning program and earn up to 30.25 CE credits. Without further ado, here's Dr. Tull.
During the exposure exercises, it was very important that Mark was connecting with and allowing himself to experience the emotions that arose without judgment. Because again, we wanted to reduce the likelihood that he was going to experience that secondary emotional responding. It wouldn't be helpful if our exposure exercises were just bringing up shame. And in order to prevent that from occurring, it was very important that Mark allowed him to experience and connect with those primary emotional experiences. Therefore, prior to beginning the series of prolonged exposure exercises, I felt it was important to provide Mark with some information and skills on cognitive diffusion as well as emotional willingness. So some of the things that we did were focused on reducing his attachment to judgmental thoughts, as well as using mindfulness strategies and acceptance-based emotional regulation strategies in order to increase the extent to which he was able to stay connected with those emotions that were occurring without getting caught up in judgments that would contribute to secondary emotions. Some different types of skills that we might have used would be describing a thought as a thought. So if he were to experience, for example, a judgment about having anxiety, such as I am weak, we wanted him to change the way in which he connected with that thought by describing it as a thought. I am having the thought that I am weak. And by simply just adding in those few words of I am having a thought, essentially what that does is, one, it defines that experience as simply just a thought. It's not necessarily an indication of truth, but it also gives the client a little bit more separation from that experience. And in doing so, can reduce the extent to which that thought is going to contribute to a shame response. We also use some mindfulness strategies, such as having Mark observe his thought as a leaf that is just kind of floating down a stream, and recognizing that his thoughts are going to be continuously going through his mind. And with every thought that were to pop up, simply just put that on a leaf and watch that just float down the stream. We also use mindfulness exercises at the start of every session to help Mark stay connected and present with the work that he was doing. And some of those mindfulness exercises began with simply just having him mindfully focus on his breathing, to mindfully observing his thoughts, mindfully observing the sounds in the room, so on. Another cognitive diffusion strategy that Mark was taught was rapidly saying a phrase over and over again. So for example, again, the thought, I am weak. By saying that thought quickly over and over again, I am weak, I am weak, I am weak, I am weak, I am weak. Essentially what you're doing is changing this phrase that has some meaning almost into just a nonsense sound. The quicker that you say it, the longer that you say it, essentially the entire meaning of that phrase is disconnected from the phrase because it just starts to sound like nonsense. And so if Mark was particularly stuck in that judgmental thought, this would be a strategy that we would use to help him essentially kind of take a step back from that experience and reduce the power of that thought to provoke the shame response.
Okay, so as we wrap up this episode with Dr. Tull on ACT-based exposure and cognitive diffusion for PTSD, let's reflect on the key insights we've gathered. We examined the significance of emotional connection during exposure exercises. Patients need to allow themselves to experience emotions without judgment, reducing the impact of secondary emotional responses like shame. Before embarking on exposure exercises, Dr. Tull underscored the importance of training in cognitive diffusion and emotional willingness. These skills enable patients to detach from judgmental thoughts and employ mindfulness strategies. The episode highlighted effective techniques such as reframing thoughts, mindfulness visualization, and repetitive diffusion exercises for alleviating the power of negative self-judgments. We discovered that through these ACT strategies, patients can form a healthier relationship with their emotions and thoughts, which is crucial for overcoming PTSD. Integrating these techniques into your therapeutic practice can significantly aid in guiding clients through their PTSD treatment, enhancing their ability to heal and recover. Thank you for joining us for this insightful exploration. Stay tuned for more episodes in which we will continue to share practical, effective therapy strategies for mental health professionals. Knowing the forefront trauma therapy skills isn't just about expanding your expertise. Imagine the feeling of confidence and fulfillment as you help one trauma patient after the other get back on their feet and finally feel like themselves again. Our new trauma training pathway, proven ACT, DBT, and PE techniques, will help you gain the confidence and skills to tackle even the most complex scenarios in the world of PTSD and trauma. With our three-dimensional approach, you will get a comprehensive training in acceptance and commitment therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, prolonged exposure, plus a bonus on trauma-informed stabilization treatment to enhance your therapeutic skills and upgrade your clinical practice. Enroll now and earn up to 30.25 CE credits on completion. If you're a psychologist, counselor, social worker, physician, or nursing professional, these credits are accepted by your professional board. You can click the link in the show notes to learn more about accreditation and the training. You can also access exclusive content which isn't covered in this podcast. This is an on-demand training, and all modules are available in multiple formats. You can watch videos, listen to audio, and download PDF transcripts. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us spread the word by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing news of it on your social media. We are so grateful for your support. Thank you for listening. This was Dr. Jessica Díaz. See you soon for the next episode. Bye-bye.